tonight. Parents desperate for daycare spaces are stuck waiting. Some can't even get a spot on standby.
I could have worked, wanted to work, but was unable to work.
A shortage of early childhood educators is forcing some parents to stay home from jobs the province desperately needs filled.
Marble Mountain Ski Resort saw less visitors this year. No surprise given the mild temperatures and heavy rainfall. But what might be surprising is that government continues to put millions of dollars into capital works projects here at the West Coast Ski Resort.
Marble is such an important part of the product that we offer on the west coast of this province. You know, we will not oversee a garage sale of Marble Mountain.
We'll break down those numbers. That's tonight on Here and Now.
And we'll take you to the scene of a helicopter crash and dramatic rescue in remote Labrador.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Hundreds of families in the province are stuck in limbo, waiting for an available daycare spot. That's according to a new provincial survey. As Here and Now's Malone Mullen reports, it has even pulled one mother away from a career that's also facing staffing shortages.
Alexia Party loves days like this, playing with her young children in her Conception Bay South backyard. She just wishes it didn't come at the cost of her dream job.
Straight out of high school, I applied to be a nurse. I became a nurse, and that was part of my identity. That was, part of who I thought I was or wanted to be.
Party walked away to be a stay-at-home mom, but not by choice. Despite getting her newborn on several daycare waitlists, 16 months later, she still hasn't heard back from a single one.
There's a high demand for nurses, and I could have worked, wanted to work, but was unable to work.
Party's family is among hundreds in Newfoundland and Labrador looking for childcare and unable to find it. Data from a government survey launched last fall shows 68% of respondents are on at least one waitlist. Almost 200 said their names were down on more than 20. The province says it's created more than 9,000 regulated daycare spaces, all costing families just $10 a day, with a few thousand more in the works by 2026. Still, some can't even score a spot on standby. Parents like Emma Witt of Mount Pearl. She recently found herself in need of childcare and picked up the phone. 30 daycares later, still no luck.
Now, you're calling and places aren't even doing wait lists. It's like if there's a spot available and you happen to call at the right time, they'll accept you.
Witt is a hairstylist who loves her job and refuses to leave it, so she's stuck paying a babysitter by the hour, biding her time until a more affordable option opens up.
I love what I do, and if I had to step away from that, I would be heartbroken.
While the province pledges to create more spots, a report from the Federation of Labour says more than 40% of early childhood educators consider walking away in search of better wages and benefits. For Party, it may be too late to return to the career she worked so hard to build, but she wants others to share their stories.
I would like people to start emailing their MHAs, their MPs, because if the MPs, the MHAs, know about how many people are affected by this, maybe they can voice everybody's concerns, and perhaps change can actually happen.
Malone Mullen, CBC News, Conception Bay South.
Well, the province is spending millions of dollars to keep Marble Mountain running. The West Coast ski hill had fewer visits this year, but the province still hopes an outside buyer will take it over. Here and Now's Colleen Connors has more from Steady Brook.
It's quiet here now. Lights are off, the kitchen is closed. The last skier went down the slopes a month ago.
Well, we had less visitors here. We haven't had the final numbers in yet. But we had less visitors than we've had in some past years, particularly during our peak time, which usually runs from probably the second week of February right through March.
Mild temperatures and a mudslide down one of the slopes in February due to heavy rain didn't help. The man-made snow held up to finish out a decent season. Meanwhile, the provincial government allotted another $1 million in this year's budget for capital works at the mountain. That's on top of the $306,000 the Hill gets from the province for operational costs each year. This is now 5 years in a row the government has given the Hill more than $1 million.
Well, we will keep supporting Marble because Marble is a very important part of the tourism product on the West Coast. And, you know, we're continuing to look for opportunities in the shoulder seasons. And quite honestly, we found some successes there. So we'll continue to invest.
With things like the new observation deck at the top of the hill, cruise ship tourists in Corner Brook can ride the chairlift to the top for a picture in the hill's off-season. Crocker says that will bring in more money, but not enough. He reiterates that the province shouldn't be operating a ski hill, and another RFP is coming soon, seeking an outside buyer. For Hollett, he says the $1 million in this year's budget will go to ski trail repair, equipment upgrades, and infrastructure.
The buildings now are close to 30 years old. They're wood exterior, shingle roofs, and like anything else, you had to maintain that.
Hollett says with climate change changing this place in the winter months, it has to become a four-season resort in order to survive. Now, the lodge here, there's already 14 weddings booked for this summer, and the West Coast Cycling Association is interested in expanding its trail network to include some of the slopes. Crocker says that RFP, well, that should be out this summer. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Steady Brook.
Well, this is dramatic video of a rescue after a helicopter crash in remote Labrador late last week. You can see the overturned helicopter there. It went down on a frozen lake about 97 nautical miles north of Happy Valley Goose Bay. The Joint Rescue Coordination Center says the pilot survived with only minor injuries. The rescue crew from Gander was able to hoist the pilot to safety. Well, it was another successful rescue for the Whale Release and Strandings group. The nonprofit jumps into action when whales, turtles, and sharks are in distress. Over the weekend, an entangled humpback in Somerville, Bonavista Bay was freed after crews worked on the animal for hours. A local tour company captured it all on camera.
We had some reports from some fishermen friends of ours that there was a whale, a humpback whale, that was tangled in a lot of rope in the Somerville area, and they had already called wildlife, who then relayed the call to the Whale Release and Stranding group, so they were mobilized and on their way out from town to help out. The whale appeared to be fairly tired, and every once in a while, though, would do, a big roll or like a flipper slap. A couple of times we did witness tail lobbing, so it would seem like it was really exhausted, and then it would have these periods of activity where it was trying to free itself. There were reports also that the whale had been on its side on the rocks earlier in the day when the tide had been out, which is not a great sign either. These animals really aren't designed to be out of the water and supporting their own weight on those organs. Not optimal for this animal for sure. So I would say it took around about 3 hours for them to get everything cut off of the animal. Initially, they did a bunch of cuts to what seemed to be wrapped around the end of the tail, and that was a bunch of ropes, a mass of ropes, and also a big grapple, which they then took back to the fisheries boat because obviously they're in a little tiny Zodiac, so having that much gear aboard is just a safety hazard for them. And then they went back out, and there were more wraps around the whale's body and through the mouth and around one flipper that they continued to cut after that. Because so many of their rescues happen sort of out further, and we're typically busy on whale watching trips, we don't often get to see them at work. So it was kind of a neat opportunity to be able to see what they do and how they do it.
We can say he feels good.
Hopefully the whale is doing well now that all those ropes are off. It was a great job. Well, Hopedale won big last night at the Arctic Inspiration Prize Awards in Whitehorse. A group of young people from the community took home the top prize of $1 million to help build a cultural center in Hopedale. During the acceptance speech, they explained the importance of keeping language and culture alive.
And the $1 million winner of the 2024 Arctic Inspiration Prize is Inutsiavik Center!
Wow, kuyalim magikugut. As Nunatsiavumut, we know the importance of revitalizing Inuktitut language and culture, and we're very, very excited about the Inutsiavik Center. Tain na Inutsiavik, Initsiangulatu, Inutsiagamuk Nunattini. So our future plans are to open up a place of well-being for learning Inuktitut, and a place where all Inuit can come together all across Nunatsiavut to work together and live together in a safe space where we can sew together and practice traditional Inuit customs and honor that together.
Congratulations. And we'll hear more from Nicholas and some of the other young people behind the project about its importance. That's in about 35 minutes on Here and Now.
Well, today we saw a little bit more shower activity across a good chunk of the Avalon and really parts of the northeast coast. The reason for that is an area of low pressure. We're also seeing that onshore flow, and it is bringing some snow rather to parts of Labrador. So if we take a look at what's happening out there right now in St. John's, it is currently 4 degrees, some drizzle in that northerly flow, around 33 km/h wind gusts is what we're seeing. But if we take a look at other parts of the province, Cartwright is seeing some wet snow at the moment. Up across Wabush, some sunshine. Same thing for Black Duck Siding, and Trepassey just trying to see the sun peek out at the moment. But if we take a look at the temperatures today, you can really see where that northerly flow was. Single-digit temperatures away from that. Port aux Basques, 13 degrees today. We do have some warm air for the rest of the Maritimes as well, but we are going to start to see some of that warmer, milder air move up across Labrador. That will happen as we head towards the weekend with some high teens in the forecast. I'll get into all of the details in a few minutes.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, St. John's Airport is closing down one runway so it can be repaved this summer. The secondary runway will be shut down from the middle of May until October. The main runway, which was last closed in 2016 for upgrades, will remain operational. It'll cost $9.4 million. The airport says any disruptions should be minimal, but if there's an incident on the primary runway or there are strong winds from the wrong direction, planes may not be able to land or take off.
If we do have a bad weather day with bad crosswinds, we may end up with some flight interruptions. But other than weather or an incident that would shut down the primary runway, we should have no operational impacts.
Well, the processing plant in Bay Roberts is hoping it will soon have a piece of the province's most lucrative fishery. The province has given Bay Roberts Seafoods a license to buy and process snow crab. The company has a 2 million pound quota, but right now they're working on getting the right equipment. All of this comes after fish harvesters protested for more competition in the market, including new licenses for processors to buy crab.
Yeah, competition is going to give you a better price, and then if you're on the other side where you're trying to run a business, you have to compete for it. And I guess there's no matter what industry you're in, you do need competition. We all know that from our cell phones right now. What options do we have with our cell phones? There's no competition. Airlines, and you can see how quality and pricing, it makes a difference when it comes to competition.
A local man's photograph of the Torngat Mountains is making its way across the country. Michael Windsor's photo of the iconic national park is now on 16 million Canada Post stamps. It's part of the Far and Wide collection, featuring 9 scenes from across the country. And this isn't the first time his work has been featured on a stamp. In 2019, Canada Post used his photo of an iceberg in Fairyland.
I remember we were flying there, and it was raining, and it was a bit windy, and as we were flying through the fjord itself, the wind has caused a little bit of turbulence in the helicopter and stuff, and it was kind of rainy and kind of dark and drizzly. And then when we actually got to that location where the picture was taken, before we landed, we actually had to watch for bears, like polar bears and black bears, because safety is always priority up there. And when we actually made the turn, I remember looking out the right side window, and the sun broke through the clouds, and it was just magic. It was something special. It was one of those pictures that when you actually take the picture, you just kind of know right away you captured something special for sure.
Well, you could say their prayers have been answered. Our Lady of Mercy Church in Port-au-Port West has won the Next Great Save competition. As we told you last night, that's a $50,000 prize to help pay for repairing and restoring the historic building. The church was built by the community in the early 1900s and operated until the 90s. A community group has been taking care of the building ever since. The group won the national competition by getting the most votes.
Absolutely beautiful inside. The woodwork is spectacular, but the outside was getting a little bit tattered and worn. So we have been working on, different ways to find funding to address that, because next year the building celebrates its 100-year centennial since opening its doors, and we're looking forward to that. So we're hoping to get her ready for that.
Well, they didn't get to pass any bylaws, but some grade 6 students in Corner Brook did get to see what it was like to sit in on council. It held a Mayor for a Day essay contest and selected a few students to sit in on this week's meeting. The CBC's Alex Kennedy was there.
So we had our Mayor for a Day and Council for a Day contest, essay contest, with elementary school kids, grade 6 specifically. And then we had a council meeting with our new council, and where they conducted some business in our chambers. Got a chance to do their thing and show us what they got.
It was fun. It was actually really fun. I liked it a lot.
So what was your favorite part about the council meeting?
I really like banging the gavel. Fun. Really fun. It's like, bow, 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 except you get to do it harder. Super hard.
What would you do? Tell me one thing that you would do if you were the permanent mayor of Corner Brook. What's on your agenda?
There's this basketball court up by the lookout, and there's no fence around it, so only one net is usable. So I'd really like that to be fenced in.
You were just the deputy mayor of Corner Brook for a brief time. How was it?
It was really good. I felt a little bit nervous, but then I just started to get more into it. I felt like I wanted to learn about it more and more. I think it feels really important to be a counselor, and just you try to be as responsible as you can, and it just ends up working bam.
Engagement is the hardest thing, I think, at all levels of government right now. Getting people interested in participating in any form of government, and especially in our municipal governments. I went to talk to some kids at the classroom today. They had really impressive, very important questions about things that were going on in our city. What about this construction project or that construction project? Why is that business going there? Why is that business not going there? And they're really in touch. And so we want to encourage that engagement. That's why we do these kind of things.
Well, there's a bright spot cropping up in some communities across the island this week. And no, it's not the sunshine. Trevor Redmond of Nova Scotia is known as the Fellow in Yellow. He's on a cross-country run, dressed head to toe in yellow and pushing a yellow cart. He says he's doing it to promote an active lifestyle and raise money for yet-to-be-named charities.
I almost lost my leg when I was 15 years old, struck by a car. And the people that paid their taxes back in 1986 paid for all my surgeries. It's very important for me to show just what my ability is now after, 38 years after that accident, when some of those doctors said I'd be crippled up by now. I'm doing it for health, mobility, recovery for everybody. So it's really all those causes wrapped up into one, healthcare, and I call that health caring. I think we really need to focus on health caring for ourselves and health caring for others.
Well, with Mother's Day right around the corner, we wanted to see how some young students plan to pay tribute to Mom come Sunday. Arlette Lazarenko swung by Rennie's River Elementary in St. John's to ask.
How is your family feeling preparing for Mother's Day?
My mom is really excited for it, and me and my dad got her present, and everything's almost done.
Do you love your mom? Yeah. How important she is in your life?
This important.
Aww.
She's really nice, kind, loves me. My mom's cool. For Mother's Day, me and my dad sneak out of the house, and then we get my mom a Mother's Day gift.
What is something that you really love that your mom does for you?
Cook.
Cook? Like what? What's your meal that you love?
Chicken.
Chicken, yeah.
I like chicken.
What do you like to do together?
Go on a walk sometimes and go to some parks when it's sunny out. We play hide and seek.
How much do you love her?
More than my brother.
After completion of the CPR, these Chinese migrants and workers kept coming because it was the land of opportunity, and in Chinese history, North America is referred to as Golden Mountain.
We're marking Asian Heritage Month with a little history lesson on the many hurdles Chinese families faced when they first arrived in Newfoundland. That's still to come.
Well, the weather over the last couple of days has been a bit unsettled. It is going to continue to be unsettled, but some of us are going to see some sunshine. We'll get into all the details in a few minutes.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. The early bird prize deadline is midnight Friday, May 10th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Well, before we get to the forecast, we have the sweetest sign of spring to share with you.
Oh my goodness, look at this. Amber Borger captured this video of some daredevil ducklings following their mom to the pond at Manuel's River in CBS.
Just adorable. Look at all of them. They're so sweet. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
and
that's a lot of ducklings.
That's a lot of ducklings, and off they go. Thanks for sharing that video, Amber.
So sweet. I love that. And some good weather for the ducklings out there.
Great segue. Great segue.
Although I guess when they say it's a great weather for a duck, then it should be raining, right?
That's right. Yeah, not quite as rainy as it has been, in the past couple of days. But we're seeing some onshore flow, which means the drizzle has returned. Let's take a look at those temperatures out there. We're sitting in that onshore flow. We're sitting pretty chilly, anywhere from 4 to 6 or 7 degrees. You get away from that onshore flow, and again, it's beautiful. 13 degrees in Port aux Basques this afternoon. Marystown at 12. And up across Labrador, if you're towards the coast, especially mid-coast, those temperatures only around 0 or even +2, but you get away from that, temperatures a little bit warmer, anywhere from 4 to 5 degrees for the rest of the Big Land. So taking a look at what's going on satellite-wise, we can see that onshore flow quite well here in Labrador, and same thing across the island. Some showers working their way through central as well as eastern portions of the island. If I take away that satellite, you can see some of those showers were a little heavier earlier, but they're starting to lose some steam as they head to the east and the southeast at this point. But you're still expected to see some showers over the next couple of hours. And as far as the Avalon is concerned, the heaviest showers have moved offshore now to the south, but we're still seeing some drizzle and light showers for the Avalon at the moment. Now, our temperatures right now are sitting again fairly chilly. We've lost a few degrees as well for the south coast of the island, 10 to 11 degrees. Really only 4 to 6 for the northeast coast, but up across Labrador, we do have much chillier temperatures, down to -1 in Makkovik right now. Cartwright sitting at -1 as well. And we've got that onshore flow that is kind of helping with the ice, the movement of the ice as well. Been paying attention to this because there's a lack of it, first of all, but that ice now in that northerly flow, northwesterly flow at this point, looks like pushing that ice further down the pipe, and it's going to continue to do that over the next couple of days as well. The good news with this is the icebergs. There are a lot of them out there. This is how many icebergs are in I believe it's a square kilometer. I might be wrong about that, but it's in a small area. There are 43 at the tip of the northern peninsula, and those are going to continue to work their way south over the next little bit. Perfect for viewing as we get through the next couple of days. Now, as far as what's going to happen tonight, that snow will continue for the north coast or the mid coast for Labrador rather, and most of us across the island will still be seeing that cloud cover, the potential for some drizzle as well overnight tonight. And then that snow will continue to sink further south across the Big Land. So temperatures tonight anywhere from 0 to about +1 for Labrador. Otherwise, you're in some some cloudless skies tonight. Lab City will sit around -6, and then the chance of drizzle will stick around again for that northeast coast of the island. Into tomorrow, generally cloudy. Some few peaks of sun certainly possible, but we are looking at potentially some pop-up showers in the afternoon through parts of central. The snow for the first half of the day for Labrador, conditions will improve. That will fall as rain, though, for those of you in southeastern Labrador, because your temperatures are going to be a tad warmer. And eventually, we will still see some cloudy skies as we head through the overnight and into early Friday morning. Temperatures tomorrow, again, will vary depending on where you are. It looks like most of the island will be seeing temperatures somewhere between 8 to 12 degrees. Again, a little cooler, though, along the coast, both the northeast coast and the south coast, between 6 to 8 degrees. And then for Labrador, you're going to hang on to your temperatures around 1 or 2 degrees for the mid-coast. Some sunshine for Nain, and same thing for Lab City. Overall temperatures will be between 4 and 8 degrees. Now, these are going to be the coolest temperatures you see because there is a bit of a warm up as we head towards the weekend. Well, quite a dramatic warm up as we head towards the weekend. Some of us across the island will see that as well. I'll have all of those details in your full forecast coming up a little later.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashley. Well, across the country, May is Asian Heritage Month. This year's theme is preserving the past, embracing the future. During the first half of the 20th century, more than 400 Chinese men came to Newfoundland. Those immigrants faced many hurdles, including violence and an expensive head tax. Today, The Signal invited Chinese historian Gordon Jim to visit the CBC radio studio to learn more about what those families faced.
In 1885, the building of the CPR, the Canadian Pacific Railway, was still underway in British Columbia. They imported Chinese laborers into Canada. After completion of the CPR, these Chinese migrants and workers kept coming because it was the land of opportunity. And in Chinese history, North America is referred to as Golden Mountain, Gamsan. So in 1885, after completion of the CPR, the government of Canada were finding that there was a lot of opposition from the various provinces because the Chinese workers were taking jobs away from the Canadian people at the time. So what happened was, in order to kind of curb this immigration, the government of Canada enforced a head tax at $50 per immigrant to come over. So that was in 1885, but you move fast forward to 1901, that still couldn't prevent them from coming. And in 1901, they raised that from $50 to $100. That just made it even more, less accessible, but more determined now to double the cost to raise that funds back in China, now to come to Canada. So when that didn't stop the migration, the government of Canada raised it subsequently to $500 per person. And that was in 1903.
That's a ton of money.
That's a ton of money. That's 10 times what it started at in 1885. They abolished it on July 1st, 1923, pretty well about a year ago, and brought in the 1923 Chinese Exclusion Act, which basically barred any Chinese immigration into Canada for a period of until 1947, 24 years. But in the same time, the United States had also an Exclusion Act. So at the time, the only place you could land in North America without, land as in being permitted to join family members or whoever was in Canada at the time, was Newfoundland. But it was only after the head tax was repealed in 1949 that many of the wives, moms, the families could come over. So my mom came over in 1955. My sister was born, say, a year and a half later, and I came a year after that. So I grew up in a period when really the Chinese community was growing up in terms of family.
All these family reunifications happening.
Exactly.
What a time.
Exactly. And for many, many years in Newfoundland, at least from the early period when 1895 was the first recorded history of 2 Chinese men landing in St. John's.
It was for the laundromat, wasn't it? Or?
Right. They started the first laundromat in downtown St. John's. And we have a monument that honors the early Chinese immigrants to Newfoundland that paid the head tax and the early immigrants right next, really at the site of the first Chinese hand laundry in St. John's, Newfoundland.
We've proven that you can take a smartphone and hold it to your chest, and that it will record a medical grade sound with all of the details and facilities in that sound that doctors need to make diagnoses.
Well, your phone really can do it all, can't it? A local company is testing out its Stethoscope app overseas. Why the team has taken this cutting-edge tool to Ukraine. That's just ahead. Well, a St. John's-based tech company has developed software that can turn a smartphone into a high-tech stethoscope. The app Stethoscope, developed by Sparrow Bioacoustics, is not available in Canada yet, but has been given medical clearance to be tested in Ukraine. CEO Mark Oposky says they hope the tool will one day be used by everyone to monitor heart health.
The company's an Atlantic Canada company. Our medical team and our chief medical officer and some other key folks are based out of St. John's. That's where we're expanding most of our staff, and we consider ourselves to be a Newfoundland company. The important thing to become a Class 2 medical device, which we are, is that you can prove substantial equivalence to the current gold standard devices, which we have done. We've proven that you can take a smartphone using our software with our proprietary sound algorithms, and that you can hold it to your chest and that it will record a medical grade sound with all of the details and facilities in that sound that doctors need to make diagnoses. We benchmarked it against all the top digital stethoscopes that are currently being sold out there, often for hundreds or thousands of dollars. And we've come out equivalent, or in some cases superior, from a medical audio perspective. We knew a great deal about human biological sounds and the medical information that's locked in there. It's no surprise people have been using stethoscopes for 200 years to do all kinds of fairly advanced diagnoses. So there's lots of information hidden in there. Oftentimes, though, it's at the very edge of human perception, or it's very hard to hear. We became interested in the idea that we could take these sounds, that we could find a way to put them out to the broader public, the ability to record these sounds in a medical way. We've then gotten quite proficient at teaching machines to understand what is in these sounds, and being able to characterize that data in medical terms. Then we've started to develop some fairly powerful algorithms that can identify things like murmurs and pathological sounds, the sounds of blood rushing the wrong way, the sound of extra heartbeats, things that are typically indicative of any number of dozens of diseases or the progression of diseases. One of the really fascinating things about Ukraine is they have a very high quality medical system. Obviously, everyone knows that there's been a lot of disruption in the country. There's a lot of people that can't get to doctors. There's a lot of people that have been displaced from their homes. And we thought it would be a great place to really, A, see if we could help, and B, really start to test out the product. So we pursued medical clearance in Ukraine, which is not an inconsequential process. And the results were excellent. We can deploy the system very easily because it's just software. You don't need to purchase anything else. You don't need to have any hardware or any attachments. And so it scales very easily into places that maybe normally it would be difficult to ship equipment. The product also has some features where doctors not only can hear the sounds, but can also visualize the sounds, which means that it's much more easy to collaborate on whether a patient has a particular pathology or not. Our particular connection to Ukraine, we have some employees that had Ukrainian heritage. We were talking about what country we would like to start working in, where we could do the most good, the fastest. And that was a great opportunity for us to try to do some good. So we're very satisfied that the product is helping, that it's good for doctors, that it's good for patients, and that it's helping shift some of the numbers for a country like Ukraine. And we certainly think the same thing can be true for countries like Canada and the United States.
Let's return to that $1 million win at the Arctic Inspiration Prize Awards. Nicholas Flowers and his team won $1 million last night to help build a cultural center in Hopedale. And that's not all. They're also getting funding to bring some Inuit back to their communities after they were evicted in the 1950s. Here's more reaction from last night's ceremony in Whitehorse.
The 1 million isn't for us, it's for Nunatsiavut. Coming here to help represent Nunatsiavut is one thing. It's incredible on so many different levels, and seeing other Nunatsiavut here in Yukon is just amazing. It's like a dream to us come true. The dream started ever since we were very young, because we grew up in Nunatsiavut. We all come together as Inuit with the same dream to learn together, help each other, promote well-being as Inuit. Because when you learn Inuktitut, you not only learn how to speak the language that we highly regard as Inuit, but we live together in well-being and harmony. And I think that's the most important thing. And that's why we came together to help create Inutsiavik. And that's what it means. It's a place to live well. It's a place that promotes well-being. And as Inuit, we believe this is very important. We're going to be based in Hopedale, Nunatsiavut, and we're going to hold workshops and programming for Inuit within our community, for the community members of Hopedale, and all Nunatsiavut as a whole. And the best thing that we're going to do is put this money towards helpful programs, programs that can help inspire and promote and include elders, youth, and all the community as a whole. And we want to make sure that everyone can be included to live a healthy life as Inuit.
I am feeling super happy and excited. This has been a long journey, a long road to get to where we are. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and happiness and disappointment along the way. So to have actually succeeded in getting the funding, it's a huge win for us. In 2015, former archaeologists with the Nunatsiavut government started a project called the Hebron Family Archaeology Project. And through that project, she was able to bring a small group of elders back home to Hebron every summer for about a week, and they were mapping out the foundations of the community where people lived. And it was a really great opportunity for elders to get to go home and be on the land. And as the project went on, and then I came into my position, I was noticing that they were not wanting to choose amongst each other about who would get to go home. They wanted the opportunity to go together. And so I started to work on a briefing note that was presented to the Nunatsiavut Executive Council. And they approved our idea. And then we started to pursue funding for ships, because we knew that the best way to get to these remote places in Arctic regions is to go by ship, because there are no resources there that could handle a large group of people. And it was a huge battle, and we had a big setback last year, which was the year that we really wanted to, but this year is the 65-year anniversary for the eviction of Hebron and 68 years for Nutak. So it's time. It needs to happen. They're not getting any younger. We already know that elders are not going to be able to make it home because of their health, and but we're doing this for the able-bodied ones, and everyone is going to have a chance to be honored and acknowledged while we're there.
The House of Commons Justice Committee is about to launch a study into antisemitism in universities in Canada. A number of Jewish Canadian students and their supporters talked about their recent experiences ahead of tomorrow's hearing.
We are here today not just to sound the alarm, but to ignite a movement against all hate. Join us in this crucial battle for the soul of our educational institutions and this country. Jewish students deserve better. All students deserve better. We can and must do better together as a society to change this.
Well, Hillel is an international organization that serves Jewish students around the world. All of the students who spoke today will appear at tomorrow's hearing. Well, now to some sports news. There are just 2 Canadian teams left in the NHL playoffs, and they're facing off against each other. The Vancouver Canucks and Edmonton Oilers start their second round series tonight.
Oiler Nation, I'm from Edmonton. Let's go McDavid.
I was born in Vancouver. I have to go with the Canucks.
I gotta go Oilers. I love McDavid, the way he plays.
I've been a Canucks fan since I was like, as far as I can remember. So, I mean, everybody's saying Oilers, but I mean, look at the stats.
Well, those stats are in favor of the Canucks. They played the Oilers 4 times in the regular season and won every game. But as Oilers fans point out, the playoffs are like a whole new season. Anything can happen. Of course, a Canadian team hasn't won the Stanley Cup in 31 years. Well, the NHL is not the only professional hockey league now in the postseason. The new National Women's Hockey League playoffs start tonight after a 72-game regular season that drew record-breaking crowds.
What an incredible start, and we couldn't be more thrilled. And the work continues, but we know the excitement is there.
Top-seeded Toronto will host a struggling Minnesota team. The other semifinal series between Boston and Montreal begins tomorrow. Both first-round matchups will be best of 5. Winners will compete in another best-of-5 round to win the first-ever Walter Cup. looking at the long-range forecast on Wednesday means we get to look at the weekend. And you mentioned earlier that some warm temperatures are on the way for some parts of Labrador in particular.
Yeah, that's who's going to see it first. Yeah, some beautiful temperatures. I know you've already reached your 20-degree mark in some areas, but we're not going to get that warm.
No, we haven't even gotten anywhere close to that.
No, we're not. No. Let's take a look at what's going to happen through the overnight and into Friday morning. So basically unsettled. The area of low pressure is going to continue to track further east, and we've got a little bit of a ridge of high pressure that's going to dominate. So it should clear things out across most of Labrador through the day on Friday. However, we're hanging on that ridge of high pressure. We see the wind rotate clockwise, so that means we are in that onshore flow yet again across the island, which means cloudy skies for the most part, and maybe the chance of a few showers through the day as well. Temperatures are really going to start to warm up. Happy Valley Goose Bay at about 15 degrees through the afternoon on Friday. It's going to take a little bit longer for other areas to see that, but we'll be into the double digits for Corner Brook as well, around 11 degrees through central eastern Newfoundland. Temperatures between 4 and 7 through the day. And we've got temperatures along the south coast of the island as well, hovering into the mid-single digits through Friday. As we head into Saturday, the ridge of high pressure is going to try to sink a little bit further south, but we're still in that onshore flow, so we should hang on to that cloud cover through most of Saturday. And then an area of low pressure just skirting the island, which means we could see some rain for the Avalon through the evening hours and maybe the south coast as well. A little bit of disagreement on just how far north that low is going to come at this point. So we may not even see any showers, but I'm going to keep it in there for now because our temperatures are certainly going to be cooler in that onshore flow, only about 5 degrees. Now, areas through central, west coast should clear out nicely, and you'll see some milder temperatures certainly as we head towards the west. 14 and 16 degrees for central and western portions of Labrador, but towards the coast, you're still hanging on to those single digits. We will see a warm up. It'll come on Sunday and Monday. However, at this point, looking gray with temperatures between 12 and 14 degrees with some rain. Central Newfoundland, not quite as warm, but you're also looking at some rain, and western Newfoundland as well, between 7 and 9 degrees as we end the weekend and into the beginning of next week. Now for Labrador, look at that nice stretch of weather. Temperatures into the teens, lots of sunshine, and western Labrador, you will see that as well. However, your overnight lows are still pretty chilly, 0 to about +3. Lovely shot here. Speaking of Labrador, this is Point Amour.
Oh, beautiful.
I think that's how it's pronounced.
Lovely.
Someone will correct me if that's not right. But Amanda shared this shot with us to the email address. And if you would like to share your email, or let's try that again. If you would like to share your photos with us, you can send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Yeah, we should all just head to Labrador.
It's beautiful
For
weather.
the weekend.
Yeah, you gotta enjoy it.
Yeah, for
Definitely.
sure. All right, well, that is it for us on this Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us, and hope you can join us again tomorrow.